Welcome back to Ploughman's Backyard. My name is Kendra and today we are outside in this beautiful weather. I cannot believe this is the same place it was 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago we had about 4 feet of snow. As you can see behind me, we've got quite a melt going on. We were, I think, up to plus 14 degrees this morning when I got up, and I think it's going to get up to a high about plus 28 by the end of the week. So things are melting. It's turning into mud season here, but it's still beautiful. I love that I can go out in just a shirt without a big heavy jacket. And there's the first signs of spring showing up right now. So I thought I'd give you a little tour of what's coming up. And I have a couple raised beds that are all clear of snow, which means I can get to the planting my lettuce in there so we can have fresh salads. And yeah, there are some things coming up. And there is still some snow here, but it's not going to be long and we're going to be snow free. I'm so excited. I think the rooster's excited too. Here are my raised beds. I got these from Costco last year. Over here I planted my strawberries. As you can see, the strawberries are coming up. So they are looking great. I'm going to be adding more strawberries, my grow kit strawberries, to this section here where there isn't any. But so far, just need to do a little bit of weeding in here. The one thing that I do like about having raised beds is that they de-thaw a lot quicker than the actual garden. There is still some snow on the garden. The ground is probably still frozen, but the raised beds are great for this time of year. You can work in them much sooner than you can your regular garden. I don't think that raised beds take the place of an in-ground garden. I love my in-ground gardens, but they are awesome for when you cannot use your garden. So I'm really excited to get some lettuce out here real soon and have some fresh salads, like much faster than I can have over in the regular garden, because the temperatures are going to be staying above freezing, which is great. You can plant things that are cold climates, so things like your broccoli, your kale, your lettuces, your cabbage, that kind of thing can be going out right now, your peas. So now's a great time to get those out and get them started if you can. I don't really tend to do that until I can get them in the garden, but I am going to get my salad things, even the chard, do well in the colder climate. So anyways, if you can plant that now, I would suggest doing that. It's about cutting those costs, those grocery bills, because things are so expensive right now to buy at the grocery store, especially your salads. If you can get them out now. If not, you're like me, I always plant in the in-ground garden, not before the June 10th or 15th. However, this year, the strawberry moon, I believe, is supposed to happen June 3rd, which means I can plant a little bit earlier than I normally do. And I always wait until that strawberry moon in June. So this is where I'm going to be planting my lettuce. I don't have anything in this raised bed as we speak. Oh, there we go. Just gotta get rid of some of this debris. As you can see, the ground is thawed, but it's a little chilly, but should do really well for the lettuce. Maybe some peas and things like that to add to the lettuce. That's what I'll be working on today and this week. Getting my hands dirty feels good. Well, the first sign of spring is those swamp lilies that come up. Seem to be coming up lots. I don't tend to do much with them. You can eat the flowers in a lettuce or something like that, but this is always the first sign of spring around here anyways. And here's my garden. Still a bit snow covered, but it's coming along. And the grapes, no budding out on the grapes yet. There'll be a little bit. This was my potato patch last year. As you can see, it is all water. This is normally where I grow my cucumbers, my squash and corn. Last year I did my beans here. As you can see, my poor greenhouse is gone. It is what it is, but it is fixable. We can still work with it, and we will have a greenhouse. The snow is still kind of deep over here. Woo! Yep. It is very wet underneath. And my socks are wet. I'm excited. I think that the garden might be ready a little bit earlier this year. So let's go over and see if we have any asparagus coming up. Well, we've got my chives coming up. How exciting is that? And this is Hannah's little garden. She puts flowers. Some years she does do tomatoes and cucumbers, but usually it's flowers that go in that little bed. We have some garlic popping up. So this bed here There's still some more green ones popping up, but this whole area, even where the snow is my garlic patch. And anyways, I'm very excited. The garlic is up. So I'm gonna need to do some spring cleaning, obviously, but you can see here I've got my rows, 1, 2, 3. I've actually got there's a 4th row over there by the fence. This is my asparagus patch. Nothing's coming up yet, but it's good to see. Everything is melted and we are gonna have asparagus in no time. I know it. How exciting. Let's go see what's going on with the raspberries and blueberries. Well, the blueberries have started budding out, so I'm super happy and they're growing quite well. So the blueberries are starting and I believe the raspberries will be as well. So these here would be my currants. As you can see, they are budding out beautifully. We've got lots of currants coming up. I don't know if you can see that. Lots of buds coming on my currants. So these are my black currants, and we have about 4 or 5 bushes of these black ones, but lots and lots of buds coming, which is quite normal. They're very prolific and they do really well in these colder climates up here. So not uncommon to see lots of buds, but definitely there's a lot of growth going on. So these here would be my hascaps and lots of buds popping out. Another great variety, hascaps. I think we've got the tundra, the indigo, and I forget what the other one is, but we have about 3 varieties here and about 6 to 8 plants. Their hardiness is for zone 2, so they're prolific, and if you get them at the right time, they taste great, but if you pick them too early, they're quite bitter. So looking forward to have some fresh berries to put in the freezer for the winter months. So one thing that I really love and really recommend if you can start anything your first year of homesteading is getting your perennial bushes in. Perennial like asparagus, get your small bushes in. Small bushes can be really, really cold hardy and you get fruit every year from them. So your raspberries, your blueberries, your currants, your hascaps. I haven't had huge success with strawberries, but you can definitely get a lot of berries to put in your freezer for the winter months, and berries can be quite expensive in the store. So again, cutting those costs of the grocery store, getting those things in, and it might be a large upfront cost, but it pays off year after year, and it pays off super quick. These bushes, I mean, they've grown so fast well, I want to say in 3 years, you're going to get a ton of fruit off of them. So, but they just continue to grow, and you can actually do cuttings and continue to grow more. So you don't even need to spend a lot of upfront money on many, many plants. Get what you need for good pollination, a good start on your fruits, and then go ahead and start doing cuttings or taking part of your roots and continue to grow your garden that way. But also buying in bulk. If you can find places to buy in bulk, don't go to the Canadian Tires and the Walmarts and places like that and spend, $25 on a raspberry plant when you can get a box of canes for very cheap. The same with asparagus. It's an investment, but it's well worth the effort and the pay, and you get it continually with little to no effort yearly. It's just free food right there yearly, and it is the one thing I'm like, if you are not really a gardener and are just learning, focus on your small fruits first and your asparagus and things like that, because it pays off so fast. Anyways, those are my wise tips. That's what I recommend. And I mean, I think I might have planted these 4 or 5 years ago, and you barely do nothing, maybe a bit of pruning here and there. They're quite vigorous. So probably one of my biggest things that I think we need to work on this year, other than the greenhouse, is the chicken coop, because I'm just going to show you behind me on how the snow constantly melts here. The barn's been super great, super helpful. It was here when we moved in. We definitely need to have our barn up higher off the ground just because of all the melting. It creates a disaster with the wetness going around the barn and into the barn. And when you've got a lot of wetness going on and the spring melt, it's a disaster for disease. If their feet are kept damp and wet, it could cause a lot of problems. It's a breeding ground for things like parasites and flies. This, I think, is probably the most important. Usually We just deal with it and try and have it air out as much as possible. It's constantly an issue every year, so it's definitely one that needs to be higher up on our to-do list. As soon as more snow's gone, Jason's going to be making us some chicken coops that are going to be up off the ground much higher, so we won't have these problems. Just learning as you go and figuring out, where your highest points are and your lowest points. We've always found that using our low points for the garden has been really good. It does take some time to dry up, but at the same time, you don't have to water as much. So as long as you're bringing some compost and dirt in, raise it up a bit, till it in, and it works great for the garden areas, but not so great for your livestock. So just keep that in mind. As you can see, we are going to have snow over here for quite a while, and not so much over here. One thing I would really like to do is possibly remove these 2 trees. Ideally, this would be a great spot to put the greenhouse because there's a lot of sun here. It'd be easier to get to because the house is so close. The only issue is I know that there are wires possibly from the house to the garage. So it might have to be an above ground kind of raised bed garden in the greenhouse. So those are just some things we're trying to consider, whether we want to keep the greenhouse where it is or bring it over here and do raised beds. I know Jason is really not into doing that. He's not a big fan of raised beds like myself. However, it would be a lot more convenient closer to the house. Those are just some things we need to kind of figure out and plan ahead on and see if we want to do it. Having those cedar trees being taken down would bring in a lot of sun just in that one area, which would be awesome for a greenhouse. So these are my hazelburt bushes. This is a great sign, seeing all these things. This is the pollination, where the pollination happens. So wherever you see these is a good sign that we're going to get lots and lots of nuts off of these bushes. So they are doing really well. This one's growing phenomenal. And this one got hit by the plow, but they are still doing really well and showing really good signs of spring. So that's what we want to see. And lots of budding. There are lots of little buds coming up. Great sign. I love spring. This is my Cortland apple that I planted about 4 years ago. We've yet to get a fruit off of it, but I did do some pruning this winter. So I'm really excited to see that it's still alive and well and looking forward. I'm hoping this is the year for the fruit off of this tree. That's it, I guess, for our little garden tour. I still have our wooden raised bed that is not quite ready. It's still piled in snow, just because it's at the back of the house and we get a lot less light back there. Spring is probably one of my most favorite times of year. And it's a sign of, new growth and starting over. You can see it. I mean, certain plants might have not have done super well last year. Certain bushes may have not given a lot of fruit last year. But this year is a new start for them. They're growing. It's a new opportunity. Fruit trees, some years you get disease, some years you get pests, some years you don't. So it's always a new start. And it's not just for the plants, but it's also for us. Last year may have not have been our year. We may have not have gardened as much. We may have not have canned as much, but this year can be different. So always when I think about spring and getting my seeds out, starting the new generations of chicks, it's a new fresh start, even for your chickens. Maybe you did have problems last year. Maybe you had disease. Maybe you had parasites. Maybe you had worms. Who knows what you had? Maybe you had deaths like we did. We lost our Chanticleers. It's a new start. So, don't think of what happened last year, but use this opportunity this spring to start over, to do something else, to make a new commitment to yourself, to try something new, to get out there and do it. You don't have to be a product of your past, of your last year, of before. Okay. Maybe you've never homesteaded, maybe you've never gardened, maybe you never can. It doesn't mean you can't. Start now. This is a perfect example, spring, of having a creature or a plant be something that it always was, and it can be something different. Like this, we've had our Cortland apple tree just not bear fruit for the last 4 years. This could be its fruit bearing year. It doesn't mean that it's never going to bear fruit. It just means that it takes time. So it doesn't mean that you're not good enough, that you can't do it, that you can't homestead, that you can't garden, that you can't can. In even other aspects of your life, if you're having struggles financially, struggles with your job, struggles with your family, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. use spring as an opportunity to show you that you can be a different person, that you can grow and you can do new things, because that's one thing when you're starting out. Believing in yourself is the biggest thing. You know, believing that you can do it, that you can change, that you can do these things. One thing when we started out years ago, like I said in many of my videos, I didn't always know how to do what I'm doing now. But it started baby steps. Start with baby steps. And believe me, I know that you can do it. I know that things will get better. Just take hold of this opportunity. And when I look around and see that all that's been created and what God has done, it shows me, you know what, I don't have to be whatever I used to be. I can't be something better and be something different. Even starting this YouTube channel, did you think that I knew how to do it when we started? No, our videos were kind of lame, like just about everybody else when they start out. But you get better with time, you get better with progress. And you know, I just want to encourage you that if this is your first year gardening, if this is your first year doing chickens, if this is your first year homesteading, stick with it and believe in yourself and reach out to other people. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be even afraid to reach out to me. I may not know exactly how to answer your questions, but I can definitely gear you to the people that know how. We do know a lot of things, but we don't know everything here. So we learn as we go, and I just want to encourage you that you can do this. I know that you can. Spring, it's a great step. I know there's a lot of people that even just moved out into the country, into their new homestead this winter. I know because I've talked to you guys, and I know that this is your first year, but don't be afraid. You can do it. I know that you can. And I just want to thank you for joining in this little tour. I know it's not much. There's not much popping up here, but I'm so happy to see the sunshine. I'm so happy that the snow is melting. It's a great sign that better days are ahead. I just want to encourage you. So I want to thank you for coming and watching, and I hope that you stick around. I hope that I can be an encouragement to you and guide you in this step of homesteading. Take care, and until next time, I want to thank you for joining us. Ploughman's Backyard.